What's happening, good people? Welcome to the channel. I'm Wes, aka Mr. Budget Watch, and today is an episode of Watch Wars. So we're going to be comparing two different Subby homages from Pagani design. So if you've never seen Watch Wars before, essentially there are 10 categories, 10 points per category. Winner is the most at the end. What we're going to do is kick off with the design first. And you can obviously tell which watches these are homaging. It's blatantly obvious. But they do go about it in a little different way. Of course, the date window on this one, and the Cyclops, and then the no date on this one. I'm going to give the slight edge, just a personal preference to this one, just because I prefer the symmetry of this one compared to the date window on this one. It's just a personal preference. You guys might prefer the one with the date, I prefer the no date, but again, personal preference. Bezels, pretty much identical apart from one's black and one's green. Cases are also identical, so they're not going to create an entirely new case for basically the same watch, just a different dial. Essentially, that's all it is. So yeah, that is the only real difference, is just the dial. And of course, that one's got the Cyclops on the crystal, whereas this one doesn't. I do prefer the applied indices on this one over the printing on this one. I just think it looks a little bit nicer, but I can see why they've done it on this one. So now we're going to get on to build and finish. And actually, they're both pretty much identical again. Like I mentioned already, they're using the same cases, same bezels, both feel exactly the same, pretty much identical action. Crowns and stems, everything feels bang on with both of them. Case finishing is pretty much on par as well. Bracelets again are a little bit different, so the build and finish is pretty much the same again. Both have got really nice high quality brushing. This one is a little bit smoother, but this one I think looks a little bit nicer. So it swings and roundabouts, so that's why they both score exactly the same. They're pretty much the same watch apart from different bracelets, to be fair. So moving on to said bracelet, so we have the oyster style here, and then we have the Tudor style here. So this one has female end links, which is a little bit better for us guys with slimmer wrists. This one has male end links, which does make it wear a little bit bigger. But we'll talk about that later on. So as for the quality of the bracelet, you can see, this one has really nice fine brushing. This one also has nice brushing. This one does have a more elegant taper. You can see it tapers down, whereas this one has less of a taper. Both of them scored, I've pretty much scored them, half a point difference in favour of this one, and I'm going to show you why now. So in terms of build quality and everything, both use screw links, both have got solid end links, so yeah, both are really nice. So this one scores half a point less because of the lack of easy to use micro adjust. It does have micro adjust, but they're on the inside and it's a nightmare to use. This one has outward micro adjust, which means it's so much easier to use. I also prefer the double pusher to the Rolex style as well. It's just so much more convenient and easy to use. Build quality is pretty much bang on with both of them. Really high quality feeling, good quality clasps. It's just they go about things a little bit differently, and I just prefer how this one works and functions over this one. I have had words with Pagani, believe me, about adding micro adjust to this, so hopefully they will start taking notice at some point. Yes, this looks cleaner, but I'd rather have it have a couple of holes in it and be more functional, just for a better fit. Speaking of comfort, both of these score exactly the same again. And that is because, well, they approach things differently, but they're both very comfortable bracelets. So this one is, really nice and comfortable. The clasp is a little bit big sometimes, I find, especially if you've got slim wrists like myself, but it doesn't really take away too much from the overall comfort. The male end link does make it wear a little bit bigger, but it's not necessarily more uncomfortable with a male end link. It just sort of looks a little bit smaller on your wrist with a female end link than a male, but it doesn't really impact comfort too much. This one is really nice and comfortable as well. Good articulation, good finishing, so neither of them feel sort of rough and sharp against your skin. So yeah, both of them score exactly the same. Really comfortable watches. The watch body pretty much identical as well. So they wear pretty much exactly the same. Apart from this one, like I said, just looks a little bit bigger because of those male end links. But again, they're both very, very comfortable watches that are very easy to wear on a daily basis. So now we're going to get on to the Loom, and this is where they start to differ a little bit. Now, I'm actually going to score these ones kind of similar. So this one has applied indices and a loom pip. So we have loom on the hands, indices, and that loom pip. This one has loomed indices, loomed hands, and a loomed bezel. So it does score a little bit more. Now, the loom is not technically great on either of these watches, so I think I've been very, very generous with the scoring on these. Probably could knock a point off both of them actually, so I think we'll do that. So deduct a point from each, but yeah. So that is that. You can actually see the loom comparison on screen now, and although the loom is a little bit better on this one, which is why it scored more, and it's got that loom bezel insert, I think the loom on the indices is slightly better on the dated version versus this one, just because it's applied versus printed, but neither are fantastic to be fair. But I do obviously give the edge to the no date because it's got that bezel, which does make it you know, a little bit more usable. But yeah, neither are fantastic to be honest, which is why, you know, I've decided to deduct a point from both, because, you know, why not? And then we got on to movement, and both of these are using the exact same NH35. So this one obviously has your date, this one has no date. So this has a ghost date position. I've not really detracted anything from that because honestly, it's just as easy to adjust the time on this as it is on this one. You just don't have, you know, to adjust the date because you can't see it. Would have been cool if they added an NH38 to this one, but that probably would have eked up the price a little bit. So yeah, movements, both feel fantastic in both work exactly the same. So there's not really any difference between the two, both feel fantastic in use, both are running well. So yeah, no complaints with either of them. So now we get on to water resistance, and well, actually you can see there is a little bit difference if we're going on the dial. This one has 200 meters, this one has 100 meters. So obviously this one takes the round. Now, unfortunately, I probably wouldn't trust either of these at those depths. Swimming, I'd say you're fine with both. Diving, I probably wouldn't trust them, even though they do actually have gaskets on the crowns, screw down case backs and screw down crowns. I don't think I'd really feel safe at, you know, that depth with these watches. Because obviously they're not certified, they're just 100 meter, 200 meter. You know, it's easy enough to put 200 meter on this one, 100 meter on this one. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt, basically. A pinch of salt, grain of salt. But yeah, this one, technically, I have to score it better because it's rated better. But, you know, I wouldn't really listen to either of those, to be fair. So now we get on to availability, and both of them score exactly the same because, well, they're both from AliExpress. Both are readily and easily available from plenty of different stores on there. If I were to score this one a little bit better, I'd probably give it an extra, you know, point or so, because you can actually get them on Amazon, whereas I don't think these are available on Amazon yet. The reason why I don't suggest buying these off Amazon though is because the prices are ridiculous compared to AliExpress. But if you want one quick, then they do sell them on Amazon. So now we get on to brand, and both of them obviously score exactly the same. I mean, the name, you know, they've made a good name for themselves for making, you know, good quality homages at a fair price. They have increased the prices, you know, over the years. The build quality has, in fairness, also slightly increased. They're still not, you know, the best homages, I would say. There is definitely better now, you know, with the emergence of other brands coming, you know, more available and more popular. They're definitely sort of falling behind a little bit, I would say. So yeah, they definitely have a bit of catching up to do, especially in the loom department compared to, you know, companies like Steel Dive. Their loom is so much better than this at a very similar price point, so there is that. So now we get on to that all-important price, and this one takes a big win. So this one is available for around 60-ish quid, and this one is available for closer to 100. So you're actually paying quite a premium for this one. And you know what, it's kind of hard to see where that went. I mean, yes, you get a more usable bracelet, and they are actually a little bit more expensive if you actually buy one of these than they are these ones. So yeah, pricing is tough. I mean, both are built well, both are finished well. So there's not really much to differentiate between the two apart from the bracelet and the loom. But is that really worth paying an extra like 20 odd quid for? I guess you'll have to be the judge of that. If it had an NH38 in it, and maybe better loom, I would say, you know what, yeah, I'd say this one's definitely worth the extra. But as it's using the same movement, same case, just a different bracelet, loom, yeah, not fantastic. I'm saying it's hard push to recommend this one at 100 quid when this one is available for 60. Now, the only time this is going to be worth it for you if you really, really despise date windows. I don't hate them that much that I'd want to spend an extra 20 quid on this one. But, you know, that's just my personal preference. You might think it's a worthwhile investment. I kind of don't. So now we get on to the final scores, and you can see them now, and it's actually very, very close, just in favour of this. And I think it scores better on the loom and also on the bracelet, so that just sort of edges it ahead ever so slightly. This one claws it back in its overall value, but it's very, very close, and honestly you'd be happy, I would say, with either one of these watches. It's all down to personal preference. They're basically the same exact watch, apart from no date versus date. So you know, take your pick really. On, of course, yeah, the bracelets are different, but you know, if you prefer this bracelet, you could always buy one of these bracelets for pretty cheap and put it on this one, or vice versa. But anyway, this is slightly better, just because it has better loom and a better bracelet. But this one is definitely better bang for buck. So take that as you will. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads. And of course, follow me on social media at Mr. Budget Watch. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.